Should be good. Yep, we're good. I already started it.
You gonna mention how I was waddling over
No, you
here?
got it this time. You're good. You made it.
It is the Christmas season.
It is.
All right. I think we look close up of us. Better the close up of you. Is that too loud?
It's all right. What?
Under there is an amp. I guess I could.
That's okay.
I could turn those down.
Well, just tell me. I was going to tell me how, and I can try it.
Just do this. I'll turn it back up.
Sorry, he's got stuff all over the place.
It's not on there.
Well, we are back for an episode again, as we always are.
I think this is 10, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Episode 10, if you want to count last week's as a show. There we go. We got it figured out. Dad had to turn off the little switchboard thing. Whatever you radio nerds call it.
The board?
Yeah.
Headphone amp?
Yep.
Okay. And here we go. You ready?
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Best Boys Center Ice Podcast, episode 10. I'm Barry Besse, alongside my handsome and smart son, Carson. He's the brains of the outfit. We've been doing this, it's about a year now.
Yeah. Yeah, right about.
We started in December of last year, went through the Stanley Cup Finals, and now we started a brand new season.
Yep.
And we always wanted to do this. We've always wanted to do the podcast. We talk about hockey all the time. So we're doing this, and we are like to thank Shemaiah Reed and the Refocused Radio Network. And you can get us our YouTube channel on the Refocused Radio Network. This podcast will be available tomorrow on the Refocused Radio Network, along with Rudy Campos Jr. and Sweep the League. Rudy's got a great show. I love listening to his show. There's also a Sweep Unplugged that they have on the Refocused Radio Network. There's a lot of other great shows, but we're on there, Spreaker.com, and of course, post-game on the TikTok. Carson and I do for the Penguins and the Oilers. So this is what we do. We talk about our favorite teams, the Edmonton Oilers, Pittsburgh Penguins, both 5-time Stanley Cup champions. And we're going to start, as we always do, with the week that was for me. Okay. I'm going to start. Well, the week that was for me started in Vegas.
Yes.
Last Tuesday. And it was very exciting. Vegas is Vegas. Hadn't been there in about 20 years. But it changed a lot. I went to the T-Mobile Arena the day before, and I did some video, as you probably saw on Facebook. And then I went to the game. In that arena, it comes that close to American Airlines Center. That close. But the atmosphere is right bang on. And if you saw the video of the Open, Vegas, that is probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen, with the Knight coming out and taking on the Oiler Dragon. And it looks like the Oiler Dragon came right out of the ice. Vegas does it right. Like they do. The building was probably 65-70% Edmonton. And it happens. And I talked to some Vegas folks, and they say, happens with the Knights, happens with the Raiders. It's probably going to happen with the A's. It's just that there's more people from outside that come to Vegas. But it was a great time. I met a lot of people. Met somebody from Nova Scotia. And I'm going to bring that up because he had a pretty interesting comment about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Met a lot of people, of course, from Edmonton, and that one couple, her lady and I had the exact same colored orange shoes on. There's pictures all over Facebook, but that's where my week started, but it didn't turn out very well. 1-0. It was kind of a soft goal. Yes, I have to admit, it was a soft goal that Stu let in. And the Oilers didn't really play a very good first period. Now, Vegas didn't play a good game at all. The Oilers outplayed Vegas, I felt, in the last two periods. But when you come right down
Doesn't
to it,
matter.
Vegas won the game 1-0. It was very exciting, especially the last few minutes of the game. Vantage point was almost exactly the same that we have in Dallas.
Yep.
So that was the start of the week, and it was hats off to Vegas and everybody that I met out there. Then they came home for 3 games and then turned things around. It had been so far that the Oilers have a better road record than they do a home record. Well, now that's kind of flip-flopped. Well, it's pretty even. It's pretty even now. The Oilers went on to win the next 3 games. 6-3 against Columbus was the first game. 4-2 against St. Louis. And then last night, and a game against Tampa on another weird Leon Draisaitl goal. Yeah. The Oilers won 2-1. Stu Skinner had 20 saves, 21 shots, 20 saves. Stu, to me, Carr, is you can comment because you watch him a lot and you hear all the chatter. Stu's starting to come into his own now. I think he's starting to feel more confident between the pipes. And then with Calvin Pickard backing him up, I think might not be the best duo in the NHL, but I think they're getting their confidence back.
Yeah, pretty good.
And the defense, my next point, the defense is playing really well. I think Paul Coffey I know Paul Coffey had a conversation on the bench the other night in the St. Louis game with Troy Stetcher. Even though he got his first goal, he was giving him the business about some defensive stuff, but they're tightening up in their own end. They're not giving away that bad pass up the middle. Bouchard's playing a lot better defensively, so we're going to keep him around for a little while. And then all 4 lines seem to be clipping. Every once in a while, they'll throw out the big boy line, Draisaitl, McDavid, and Brian Nugent-Hopkins or Zach Hyman now that Hyman's back. But I think they stick to the 4 lines that they have and the 3 defensive pairings, and they're rolling right along. The power play is getting better. The penalty kill is improved almost night and day. I think they've only given up 1 power play goal in the last 25 opportunities or something like that.
How do you feel about Kapanen?
I like Kapanen. I just think he needs a little bit more polish, but I do like Kapanen. I think he's a great penalty killer. And I think him on the line with McDavid and Hyman, I think that's going to make him a better
He's a very good skater.
Yeah, he is a great skater. And if you put him with
sometimes he gets the Energizer Bunny where he is too fast for his own good sometimes. He screws himself up.
But I do like him.
He's good.
He's a good pickup. He was one of those, okay, well, who is this guy pickups? But he's, I think, fit in very well. Zach Hyman back in the lineup. He got a couple of goals so far since he's been back. Now, I mentioned Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
Yeah, what was that comment?
I was talking to the guy from Nova Scotia outside the arena after the game, and I was wearing my Ryan Nugent-Hopkins reverse retro jersey. And he pointed at me and he goes, "What's with RNH?" And I go, "I don't know. He's just not on, he's just not on course." And he says, "I bet you he's trade bait." And I'm thinking, well, possibly we've talked about that. We talked about that last year that
he could be
trade bait. He could be trade bait. He's scored a couple of goals. He's had some assists, but he's still very important on the power play. He's a very good penalty killer.
He's a good player.
And you can put him down on as a center on that 3rd line. And if you needed to, and you'd have your 3 line centers set. I don't know if the Oilers will pull the trigger during the season, but I think, he's the longest tenured Oiler there. I think maybe Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, if they were going to trade, if they needed to get something a little bit more solid,
get rid of him.
Yeah, I think they would. And I'm not, if you looking at goaltenders, I don't know who else is out there now that you could try to get. But yeah, that's the comment that I heard a lot was Ryan Nugent-Hopkins trade bait.
I can see that.
Like I mentioned when I was in Vegas, there was a Zach Hyman sighting. It was like literally probably 200 feet away from me, and I just missed talking to him. But that was pretty cool because in Vegas he can walk around and nobody knows who he is.
Did you see him actually, or he had some?
I thought, that somebody had come up and showed me a picture, and I looked down and I could have sworn that was him. So I went chasing after him, but I'm slow, and I couldn't catch up to him. And he probably got into an Uber, but Vegas was great. Love to go there again. You need to go with when the Penguins hit there. But basically, coming up for the Oilers now, they're in Minnesota tomorrow against the Wild. They lost that game to the Wild. Wild are still playing very well. So that's going to be kind of like a redemption game for the Oilers. And then the rematch with Vegas on Saturday from the game that I was at. And then the big one, rematch of the Stanley Cup Finals between Florida and Edmonton in Edmonton on Monday. So
is the Vegas game home or there?
It's home.
Okay.
They go to Minnesota and then they come home for Vegas and then they come home for Florida and then they got another home game later in the week and then they go on. They're playing, I think they only play 2 or 3 road games in December. They're playing mostly home games in December.
Okay.
So that's the week that was for the Edmonton Oilers. Looking forward to, they're right now 12 or 16, 10 and 2.
Yeah.
They're in third place in the Pacific. They're, Vancouver is still there
LA.
with them and LA. And so they're all pretty much bunched up in that.
It's
so
close.
it's going to be a close race, but now to the Pittsburgh Penguins and the week that was pretty good week.
Yeah.
Pretty good week.
Yeah. We're 5-2 in the last 7 games.
I know, right?
Hey, I would have thought it would have been the opposite. They won a lot of games since we've been in the studio. 5 out of 7. Yeah. They've beaten some good teams. They've lost to 2 good teams.
Yeah.
But they've beaten 5 good teams. I don't know what's kind of changed. They've been playing a lot better. They're competing a lot more with these teams. They're not getting they're competing to the last minute, which is nice to see that. But this week, if you count last night, because we didn't record on our usual day, they were 2-2. So they lost, or they beat. They played last week. We beat Florida on Tuesday night, which was a game we shouldn't have won.
Yeah.
Maybe we got a shot by a 3-1 margin and won that game in overtime. And then we played the Rangers on Friday at MSG and lost that game 4-2. Very good game. They came back, but they gave up one that end of the second to Panarin with less than a second left in the period, and they just one of those stinkers. It would be
man got him.
Would be a 1-1 game and going into the third. That probably favors them, but that's how it goes. But then they come back, and no easy task beating Toronto on a back-to-back, and they do. They beat them. They beat Toronto. Cool. A great game again. They stuck with it, and that game was frustrating as much as it was good because they won. But God, those refs were horrible in that game. They missed so many calls on both sides, but mainly on the Leafs. Holding penalties, tripping penalties. They weren't calling anything.
You were mentioning that that night.
God, it was
bad.
The
penalties were just totally
they weren't showing up for the calls, and it was crazy. As many as there were, I think 7 power plays, but it doesn't matter. You see it, you call it. It was there. But they won the game. 2 short-handed goals, but they were both empty netters. But pretty cool for the stat sheet. And then they played Colorado last night, and Colorado got them pretty good, 6-2. But it was a 3-2 game going to the third. And it just kind of took over. The Pens had their opportunities, had to have a good chunk of momentum, but didn't work out too well. They made a couple bad defensive plays, I think, kind of being indecisive, pinching in, and then not being the right choice. You're playing Colorado, the guys you can't do that. They're too quick, too fast, and they got to them. But still, they could be in a completely different spot than what they're in right now. So I'm not going to complain. Yeah. They're 12-14-4, so they're right in the hunt. They're right in the mix. They just got to get some wins strung together. I'm still concerned about the goaltending piece because they're letting in a lot of goals yet. They're last in the league in that aspect. They've let in more than anybody else. They've been scoring a good amount, but they got to get some. They haven't had a shutout yet. They need to have some of those coming in soon, but I'm not complaining with it. Better than what it could be. I would just like to see them win, get to 500 and go from there. They just got to string some wins together, but 5 out of 7 against those teams, I will gladly take that because we beat some tough teams. And then now we have the rest of this week, I wouldn't say easy because it's going to jinx me, but a pretty good schedule, favorable in comparison to what we've been doing. We play in Montreal tomorrow night, which we've already beaten twice this year, once there and once at home. And then we play for the first time this season. We go to Ottawa and we play the Sens on Saturday. So Could be a pretty favorable end of the week, and if they win both these games, you're at 500. I definitely think they can. They keep playing the way they have been. I think they will. They've been playing really well. Just a couple of defensive mistakes I think they gotta avoid. Not pinching in. I don't think it's going to do them any good to really pinch in the zone. They've been playing really well, in my opinion, in comparison. They've been fighting really hard, and they've been coming back. They just gotta keep with it, and I think it'll kind of find them as they keep going. Get the goalies on a hot streak.
Yeah.
Defense, I think they need to get the defense playing defense more or less, not worrying about the offensive part of it. They're doing a good job filtering pucks to the net. They just need to stay back and play. But I like the way they've been playing, and I'm very happy. They could be 5 games worse.
Yep.
And they played. I mean, they really have played good. They played good in the Ranger game, just not shooting it enough. The Colorado game, we're down 3-0 at one point and came back to 3-2. They played pretty well, but you can just see the little bit of a difference between those top level teams and them. But they're still in that mix to make a run. So I'm not going to complain.
You must be happy with Tomasino.
Oh, he's been unreal.
He's been like
he's been such a steal for a draft pick for a fourth rounder. He's scored 3 goals already. He's got an assist.
Mm-hmm.
He scored already in MSG, which is crazy. He got hurt in that play, but he came back last night. But he seems to have that second line's actually looked really good. They put Glass up there with them, and it's been unbelievable. Yeah, he scored 3 goals and got an assist already in his 5 games now he's played here, or 6. 4 points in 6 games, which is really good for a guy that only had 1 point when he came. And he didn't have a role in Nashville. Now he's got one here.
It's just so funny how a change of scenery will just turn things
because
around.
when they do that, they bring in those guys and put them up right away. See where you fit. The only thing I think they really need to do that I'm not liking, well, 2 things. First is the power play groupings. I don't understand it. They have Kevin Hayes, who's a 4th liner on the first unit right now, and I don't get that.
Is he like a net presence guy?
Kind of, but I don't think he should be. And then they haven't been playing Puljujarvi. When he's been playing his heart out every night, they don't play him. It's like he's the first man out, and he's the first man out every time. But I think he's better than some of those guys that are staying. But I don't. At the same time, I could see them making some moves at the deadline that'll let him play in. But I think he should be in there. He's been playing really hard, and he's had no reason to be kicked out of the lineup, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Puljujarvi had the same issues when he was in Edmonton. He was just not given the
opportunity.
The ice time,
and when he's there, he's playing really well when he's given the time. But they're not giving him the time, and there's a difference.
Yeah.
Now, I hope they can, because they've been playing well enough where I like that the younger guys have been getting more of a chance. I think if you can, figure out a way to get him in, I really think you make trades at the line, maybe get Hayes out of there. I like him, but I think that's somebody that another team like a contender would take on, no problem, for a bottom role, and have Pulju back in there, because he's a guy that I think we shouldn't waste his contract. He's been a good player.
We talked about it all season. Like he's probably having his best all around season,
and what he's had to go through too.
Yeah,
he had his double hip surgery, and it sucks because he's not even getting sent to Wilkes to play, so he's just traveling and practicing. He's not playing in the games. Right. He played in the game against Toronto, and he played really well, in my opinion. He played a great game, and he's just that hard forechecking guy, and he's fast and he's smart. But I hope he gets given a chance. But more than anything, I hope this team just keeps playing the way they are and winning games, because it's fun to see them win and to see the games be exciting, because they mean something.
Yeah,
they mean something. Every win means something, and it's getting them closer to where they want to be. And especially in the East, I mean, that race is going to be close when it comes down to it, because it's all a bunch right there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the teams that are in the wild card are around the same games played, and there's not that many points difference. And 5 points now, yeah, it's huge, but there's still 4 months left of season. That's a lot of time that things can change.
Yeah, and then we get into getting deeper into the season, the more it feels like playoffs, and the more the intensity goes.
And that
up.
5-3 mentality you talk about, that's going to pull them out of it. That's going to pull them out. Last year they finished 38, 31, and 12 or whatever, and barely above 500, and that's almost getting them there.
Yeah.
So that 5-3. Every 8 games I think will help them out, but tomorrow's game against Montreal will be huge to win that one. Be 6-2 and 8, which would be good. Pretty excited too. Next month this time I'll be there for 2 games. I just booked myself this week to go up there for 2 back to back. Ottawa on the Saturday night, So that's technically a hockey night game.
Mhm.
And then Tampa on Sunday.
Right.
So 2 pretty good games,
Yeah.
in my opinion, especially right before All-Star break. You're going to get the best of those teams, but it's going to be exciting to be back in that home crowd again.
Yeah.
And I got some good seats on first row center ice for one, and then I'm kind of like diagonal to the goal on the other one. But I'm excited for that. It's going to be a fun time, and I'm just hoping until then they play some pretty good games and keep themselves in the spot where they're at, where the games are meaningful, because they've earned it. They played really well. They just aren't sometimes getting what they should out of their goaltending and the defense. But offense, I feel like he's been playing well. And they also haven't seen the best out of Sid yet this year. I'll say that. He hasn't looked 100% himself. But considering that and where they're at, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
He'll find himself and just keep doing what they're doing. I like it.
I want to shout out to Mitch and Beth watching us tonight here on the Best Boys Center Ice podcast. And you can join us here. We're going to be a couple more minutes, and you can join us and tell us what you think about your favorite team.
But I got to go on to something else. So anything else you want to add regarding what I said or what you said? Or
Well, no, I just think Pittsburgh needs to – they're getting close
Mhm.
to shoring everything up where the defense and the offense are playing together. It's right now it's a little bit like this, but much like the Oilers, I think it's going to come down and it's going to start meshing.
I will admit this year I feel like they've been a lot better on the goal scoring. And the spread of it has been throughout the lineup, which is nice. It's just they're letting in so many.
Yeah.
I think you get this goal production last year, they make the playoffs no problem, because last year the defense and goaltending was good.
Yeah.
But this year the goaltending and letting in so many has been bad. But just get some wins together and they'll be good. But
so what do you want to bring up?
I've got to talk this Nashville.
Wow. Well, yeah.
Sorry, Roland.
If you're a Nashville Predators fan,
Roland.
and I know we do have a friend of ours, Roland, that is a huge Nashville
I don't
fan.
get it.
I just don't get it.
Let me
That
see
all
what
that talent.
They're looking at right now. They have Nashville Predators are last in the standings. With a record of 7, 16, and 6. So they played 29 games. They've only won 7 games.
And all that talent that they have that they acquired during the offseason, and it's not there. It's just not there.
Have we ever seen anything like this?
I cannot recall where a team that spent the most money in the offseason wound up being consistently in last place in the entire league.
I feel like a lot of the rest of our show is going to be about Nashville because I don't get it. You grab some good talent in the offseason. You get Marchessault, you get Stamkos, you get Brady Shea from Carolina in the fold. You already have a great defensive core with Roman Josi there.
You got a great
UC Saros is a great goalie.
Saros is a great goalie.
And they at the time had Scott Wedgwood, who now was with the Avalanche. I don't get it. I really don't. Okay, to be fair, I don't watch the Preds games because they're just they coincide with the times the Penguins play, and I'm going to watch the Penguin games. I watched the end of the game the other day from them against Ottawa, and Ottawa won that game 2-1, 2-1. I didn't see any urgency from the Preds there being down a goal in the end of the game, just kind of like skating around, seeing there seems to be just nothing there. I can't imagine the vibes in the practice rinks are any good when they're practicing. Locker room vibes are probably horrible. And they don't have – I think they're just stuck. They're literally burying themselves in quicksand. Every game they play and they don't win is burying them in quicksand. And I mean, now they're already 9 games below 500. And what I will easily admit is the hardest conference out of the two. I don't know. I mean, that Central Division is so stacked. I mean, Winnipeg, Minnesota, Dallas, Colorado.
Yeah, like where do they
even
fit
Utah?
in?
I mean, Utah. I know Utah is like not, but they're playing great hockey.
Well, Utah have been beating some really good teams.
I think, in my opinion, with Utah, and I'll get back to Nashville. Utah, I feel like watching them, they're the hardest playing team out of all of them. They play really hard. But Nashville, I just don't. Like, what do you think you even do?
Well, I don't know, because you hear talk about, well, we got to get rid of all these guys we just got, and well, who's gonna take over their contracts?
Yeah, no one's gonna take Stamkos' contract.
And do you do a coaching change?
Absolutely, you do.
You have to do something.
You get good old Trotsy boy back in there.
Yeah, you're on the brink.
No, I think you're past it.
Yeah,
you're 30 games into a season that's only 82 games long, right? So you're at 30 games, and they're already 9 games below 500, which is not even a playoff spot in that conference.
No.
saying they even go on a 9-game winning streak, that puts them already at 40 games. There's only 40 games left.
So do you think if they do something like bring Trotz in to be behind the
Mhm.
bench, do you think it's something, and whatever they do now is for next season to kind of build
I
for
think
next
because
season?
at some point they're going to know that they can't make it, and they've still got to play really tough. They've still got to play these teams. Think about it. They've probably got to play Vegas yet a lot. They've probably got to play Dallas a lot. They play Dallas tomorrow, actually.
Mhm.
They got to play the Avs a lot.
They're done with
The
the
Wild a
Oilers.
lot.
The Oilers,
They
they're
got to
done.
play the Eastern teams yet. Like they got to play
Yep.
probably Washington. They probably have to play Tampa Bay, Florida. Like how many games? You can't even say they're going to win all those.
If we get to January 1 and they're nowhere near,
They're done.
They're done. They're playing for next season.
And the sad thing is that there's teams that are down there that you know are done. And it's not to be rude or disrespectful. It's just the circumstances. Chicago's one team that's down there that's not going to make it out, and everybody knows it. And and it's just what it is. They're still an entertaining team to watch. They're just not winning games. Anaheim, they've been like that for years. Buffalo, I don't see that changing. One team I will give credit to that even though their record isn't awesome, that they've been fun to watch for, in my opinion, and been really entertaining is San Jose. They've been doing really well. And their young guys have been really performing. That's a team that I think in 5 years will be a staple team, making the playoffs as they always were in the 20 teams, making the playoffs all the time, being a tough team in that West Conference. But you look at the bottom of the standings, and most of these teams were here last year. The only one that wasn't was Nashville. Nashville is one of those teams that makes the playoffs all the time. They just never really got super far, and up until, or the only time they really did was when they made the cup final against us in 2017. But yeah, I didn't see this coming. I thought at this point of the season, Nashville would probably be like 20 wins out of 30 because they look on paper, and that's a great hockey team. And all 4 lines look great, and it's just not working. It is not working.
It's not.
You know, Brunette, their coach, said that everybody's like can be scratched with how they're playing. Do you scratch them?
What else can you do? You just keep throwing these guys out there and they keep not performing. You got to say, look, like we had talked about earlier in the season with Evan Bouchard, sit him in the press box for a little bit, give him an opportunity to see the game from there.
And the only problem I can say, well, not problem, but I just don't watch the Preds enough. I can't see the problem. Maybe Roland knows if he's watching the games. I just don't watch the Preds enough to see what's going on, but I'm mystified. I really am. Like even a team, you know, like you guys last year, okay, y'all started bad, but then y'all were winning a lot of games, 5, 6, 7 game winning streaks. Then you're right back in it. Nashville has not won consecutive games probably that much at all this year. If they have
once maybe that they've
but
won 2.
I mean, to be 30 games in, you've only won 7 games. That's awful.
That's not good. That's not good.
Another team, let me check and see how that's going for them right now. But that is cause to concern, and there's been some rumblings throughout, is the Rangers.
Yeah, the New York Rangers.
2-8 in their last 10.
Yep.
They've beaten 2 teams. So Pittsburgh was one of them, and I can't remember who the other one was. They've just been awful. And you look at the top guys on their team, and that's been a lot of the cause of concern, mainly Zibanejad. Panarin has been up there. Chris Kreider, too, has been in talks of being traded away.
Well, they already traded their captain.
Yeah, Jacob Trouba got traded, which that was a ridiculous trade. I can't believe that even happened. But they've been sinking a little bit, and you know they just lost a back-to-back this weekend. Or not? No, they played Friday against us and won, and then they lost to Chicago.
Yeah, 2-1, I think.
Yeah, 2-1. And no, it was a back-to-back. They lost Sunday against Seattle and Monday against Chicago.
Okay.
And now they're playing Buffalo. They're up 1-0 in the second intermission. But yeah, something's going on there too. And they're not that far above 500. I don't know what they're going to do there either. New York's one of those teams that's, again, built to do well in the season, but comes to the playoffs and they just don't make that much.
They did get to the Eastern Conference.
They make
Finals,
noise, but they don't make it all the way. And, you know, at some point, something's going to give. What's going to happen? Because you got so much talent there. Now, the crazy part is when you talk about that trade, they just offloaded $8 million of cap space because Anaheim took all of it, which I don't know how that happened. But now they've got that money to spend. What are they going to do? Are they going to get somebody? But they've already tried that and it failed.
Yeah.
When they tried bulking up their lineup, they got Patrick Kane in there and Tarasenko, and it didn't work.
Didn't work out. No.
They didn't go anywhere.
The Rangers are definitely going the wrong way quickly, and they have to right the ship.
I feel bad. I mean, once one since 1940.
Yeah.
They won the cup. And then they won again in 1994, and that's it.
Yeah.
So a team that's the original 6 franchise has not won a Stanley Cup in almost 90 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me to think that, and it's unfortunate. The Rangers are a division rival, yes, but I'm a hockey fan.
You want to see
I want to see
you want to see the best teams play.
I want to see the best teams play, and I know they're a good hockey team, and they're just not playing that way. And I don't know what's going on, but there's lots of time in the season, and still they're in a good enough spot. They're going to be fine. But it's just going to be what's going to happen. The big concern, obviously, is Nashville. That's one that just nobody's going to understand or know what to do. I don't really know what you do with that situation, but that's got to be a bad dressing room to be in, don't you think?
Oh, that would be like, why would you want to come into work when you're...
Well, why would you want to go watch?
Yeah, the fans in Nashville are very passionate.
They're very good fans.
But why would you want to go spend your money on a team that really, like you were saying the other night, just look like they don't even care?
Well, yeah, that was like... And still, it's like that now at PPG, despite the fact the Penguins are winning more games. But when they were getting shelved like all the time, like a month ago, nobody was going to watch, because why would I do that when, if anything, if I'm watching, I'm going to watch from home, off the TV,
right,
instead of paying all this money to go there and then they get killed because they weren't playing like they were trying. And again, the Preds just are not there. They're losing to every team. I mean, the bottom teams, the top teams are losing to everybody, and that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a huge problem, and we're gonna, of course, be talking more about it.
So we'll probably just have a Preds talk episode.
Well, we could definitely have a who's going downhill in the NHL. Retirement news.
Oh, yeah.
Former Stanley Cup champion Shatterkirk retires after 14 seasons. He won the cup with the Bolts in 2020.
Very good player.
Yeah, he was with 7 teams, and he's a really good player. He was a big part of that cup team.
Yeah, he was, and he was a big part in St. Louis for a while. Played in Washington for a bit. Played with Boston.
He ended in Boston.
He just ended in Boston. I don't know what happened that caused him to retire mid-season, but probably just wasn't feeling it. Didn't want. I mean, I get that. He played long enough, and he's won his cup. Scored his last career goal against Pittsburgh too, which was cool. I saw that highlight the other. But good career, Stanley Cup. You've won what every player dreams to win.
Yep.
And the most unlikely and unusual circumstances in the bubble at that time. But he won a cup, and a very great defenseman, great player for this league, and best wishes to retirement for him, and as well for Boston to try to fill that hole that they're gonna do that. But kudos to him. I saw that you had mentioned this regarding the Winter Classic matchup, if I'm excited about it. And I don't know. I mean, the Hawks have not been playing very good, but the Blues have. And I mean, it's two storied teams. The logo, the uniforms are going to be cool.
Yeah.
I definitely think that a great matchup I would love to see is the Battle of Florida. I mean, Tampa and Florida would be a great Winter Classic. It would be such an unusual thing because it's in Florida. But am I excited? I mean, like probably 6 out of 10. Like, it'll be a fun game to watch.
Pay attention to the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I won't like.
It's on New Year's. Okay, it's on New Year's
Eve. We play the same night.
Right.
I'm not going to tune out of my game to watch that one.
No.
I'll just check the highlights. But I'm not that into it.
I'm kind of like you. I'm like, I watched the Blues play the other night against the Oilers, and that is a good
I think if
team.
Bedard were playing better than what he is now, which would be cool if he picked it up that night.
Yeah.
But then it would be more entertaining. But
I think I wonder. I hope he doesn't go through what a lot of rookies go through in that sophomore jinx.
I think he just needs to. I think, you know what? He's young.
Mm-hmm.
He's 19 years old. So much pressure to be putting on a kid to be this great mecca for the city. Just let him play. And I think there was so much pressure put on him to be this great elite guy, and he hadn't even played a game.
Yeah.
He had more media coverage than any rookie probably ever in the NHL. And now he's getting kind of away from that, and he can relax. And maybe that's what's going on, is he's relaxing his play because there's not so much pressure on him anymore. Mm-hmm. Not every other thing you see about the NHL is involving Connor Bedard.
Right.
He's getting to just be himself. And you know what? It's the way he's playing still. He's probably better than over half the league. But hopefully he picks his game up. It'd be good if he had a great game there at Wrigley. That'd be storybook, but let's see what happens.
Mhm.
That matchup will still be pretty good, but I'm hoping next year will be a lot better. I think the big thing they don't really do anymore is they don't showcase like playoff level teams as much, like making it about that. I think they should make it an intense matchup, like a divisional matchup. I think you do. It's unfortunate they don't really do Canadian teams in there because it'd be cool to see like you guys in Vegas in
Mhm.
there. Um, you know, even I doubt they would do it, but just like for old times' sake, get like Sid Novi and Winter Classic
Yeah.
one more time before they retire, or just get a heated matchup. Um, you know, Colorado Dallas would be another great.
Mhm.
Colorado would be a great venue for a winter outdoor
Yeah.
game. They had one before, but again, another one would be cool. But yeah, it should be pretty interesting. I mean, overall, I think I just can't really focus on anything else besides Nashville.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. It just doesn't make any sense.
This is when you look at them on paper, you say, wow, that should be the first place team in the Central when you looked at it at the beginning of the year. But
It's
they
not.
that just proves that you can pay all the money in the world to get these players that you think are going to gel, and then they just don't.
Well, and it's more concerning. I think they're not doing anything. Realistically,
Yeah.
no one's been fired. No one's been scratched.
Yeah.
Nothing's being done to
They're
fix it. They're just kind of rolling through the motions.
Going through the motions.
And they're expecting that it's just going to pick. But
Yeah.
like I said, they're still going to have to play these hard teams, and it's not going to. They're not going to take it easy on them. They want to win. They got to get their points and go home.
Yep. The last thing I want to talk about, and it's the salary cap numbers look like they're coming out. 92.4 million is what Gary Bettman has said that the cap is going to be next season. Now, Connor McDavid is he's going to be into the renegotiating after this year.
Mm-hmm.
They just did that with Leon Draisaitl. Leon's contract starts 2025, 2026.
That's going to be rough.
So I said before, I think Draisaitl signing means McDavid will sign. But who do you think, besides the Oilers and McDavid, would benefit from that salary cap? Like, who do you think? Because it's
what teams?
Yeah, what teams?
Oh, Toronto. They're getting more flexibility with all the guys that they probably Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Really, just teams that are kind of trying to be competitive and are adding depth, guys. I'm worried about the McDavid one. I think he's going to sign. Don't worry. Don't get me wrong. But he's better than Draisaitl, and Draisaitl got paid what he got paid. Now he's got to do the same for McDavid,
right?
And that's going to be basically a third of your cap space on two players.
Yeah, and like I said, we didn't know what was going to happen after the Cup final, but I had an idea that Draisaitl was going to sign.
And I didn't. I thought he was going to walk and go somewhere else.
And I really do believe that Draisaitl signed, knowing that McDavid and him had a conversation, and he said, "Okay, yeah, if you sign, man, I'm going to sign." So I think
they're going to be okay. It's just an interesting thing to think about. But I think definitely Toronto is probably the team out of all of them that benefits the most because of what they've been doing for years.
Well, we got a lot of people that just joined us
from Wetaskiwin, I see.
Yeah, my cousin Wolfie.
Hi.
And she's saying hi to the best boys from Wetaskiwin, Alberta, Canada.
I don't know. Even teams that are maybe lesser competitive that can bolster up themselves a little bit with depth signings. Yep. Yeah. I mean, really, it benefits every team because they get the assets to get more guys, but it's just the big names that it's going to be more of a concern where they go.
And it's still early to talk about ifs, ands, or buts, but that's just something that popped up. So, again, Penguins and Oilers got a lot of good games coming up this week, and we'll be back on our regular night, Tuesday night, I think, right? Tuesday night at about
it was a last-minute schedule change, peeps.
5:45 Central Time next Tuesday. You can get.
We'll see how many games the Predators.
Yeah, we'll see how many games they're below 500 after. So we'll be on, and this podcast will be available tomorrow on the Refocused Radio Network and on Spreaker, and we'll also you'll be able to catch this a little later on Facebook, and then after the Oilers and Penguins play, you can go to their TikTok pages and see our post-game wrap-up. So that's it for this show. Again, we're going to be back at our regular time next Tuesday, about 5:45 Central Time. And in the meantime, Carson loves when I say this.
I don't.
And in between time, everybody have a great hockey night. Don't shake your head.